Everyone, I went ahead and I did an analysis on Anna Karenina and suicide. It's a really good movie, so if you ever get a chance to watch it, even though it has a sad ending, I highly recommend it. Novel, and it was written by Leo Tolstoy. So let's get started. The mission statement is pretty much what it is. We want to raise awareness of suicide and become more aware of and more informed about the warning signals that someone may be trying suicide, among other things. In addition, it is necessary to understand who to contact and what information to provide. According to the book, suicide is a self inflicted death in which a person makes an intentional, direct, and conscious effort to end his or her life. And in the movie, Anna Karenina is a married woman. She is married to a Russian imperial minister, so he's very stoic. He's very stringent as well. And the beginning of the movie, there's scenes of happiness, even drunkenness and celebration. And throughout the movie, you'll see if you watch it, she eventually begins an affair, but yet her friend here, Kitty, is asking her for advice, and she tells her friend to forgive him. So while at this ball, I guess, some type of gala, Anna's friend Kitty is obsessed with Vronsky. Like, she's like totally crushing on him. She's like, so I want to be with him. And Anna's like, he's too old. And then at the ball, Vronsky asks Anna to dance. So when I was going through the entire movie, I did want to just put in a few factors and triggers, the mood swings. Anna, in my opinion, from watching the movie, she wasn't a drug user, an alcohol abuser, but she did have sudden mood swings, and she did start stressing out when the whole affair began. Another factor that could also be a trigger is your social life. We all know that social media at times tends to be cruel, and some of us take things to heart. And Anna social life, like I said, her husband, he was, an imperial minister for Russia, but Anna was the complete opposite of that. But don't forget to mention that Anna was also a mother in this movie. During the whole movie, or the beginning of it, it just seems to be a happy place, right? But eventually, she starts to build an affair with Vronsky, and her husband's like, okay, I don't like that type of behavior. Your people are making fun of me. They're gossiping about us. And he, being the minister for his country, he wanted a pretty picture, not a picture of his wife cheating on him and leaving their son behind. So the ultimatum was there. She chose Vronsky, and she never got to see Sergei again. When I was doing my research and I was back at chapter 7, this particular piece of literature caught my eye, where it states that there are two actions of studying this, which is the retrospective analysis and the set of people who actually survived suicide. I didn't know that. I'm glad I went back to reflect on that. And also, it also stems on your race and your gender, and sometimes your marital status. And there are some underlying causes of suicide. And this is also something that I went back and looked in chapter 7, is the leading explanations for suicide come from different dynamics, the psychodynamics, social culture, and biological models. And I know some of us really did a lot of reviewing this chapter because of our discussion questions. And I remember someone did mention that serotonin and abnormalities in the depression-related brain circuit can contribute to suicide. So I try to do a Venn diagram. Don't laugh, I'm not very good with PowerPoint, but looking at my oval-shaped bubbles, I was trying to compare and contrast today to back in 1874 Russia, where Anna's character stems from. That today we have, a higher rate of suicide, but yet we have more resources to reach out for this type of help. And Anna didn't back in the day, as far as I think I'm correct on that. I'm not really sure, but I know that there wasn't enough resources in regards to suicide. And back then we didn't talk about it. It was kind of frowned upon. So the one thing I did find in common were the symptoms of the stress, the anxiety, the mood swings, and eventually visualizing some type of image or phantom when you have some type of a trigger or stress factor. So when I was looking at this slide, I was sad, obviously, but I didn't realize I thought the lavender colored would be higher, but it turns out the men actually commit more suicide than women. And these are all broken down by, your race. So that was also something that when I went back to reflect on chapter 7, I was like, oh, I was really stunned. Suicide and Suicidal Thoughts Directory, according to the WebMD, is they say, suicide is a major cause of death in the United States. And like Anna, many see suicide as a way to end pain and feelings of hopelessness and worthlessness, which are some of the things Anna was going through eventually because she wasn't with her son. And then also further down, she finds out her lover has went ahead and signed up to join the military again without her knowledge, and tells her at the last minute, so that just caused her to become more distraught. So that's why I put this in regards to WebMD. So when I went back to chapter 7 and I was looking at more stuff to research, I didn't realize that suicide is not officially classified as a mental disorder. I thought it was all this time, and it is not. So my assumptions of people who I see on television or on social media who commit suicide, I always made a connection to, oh, well, they must have had a mental disorder or they had some type of mental disorder diagnosis, when in fact that's not the case. So to sum everything up, Anna is smitten with Vronsky. She sacrifices everything, including her child. But eventually she decides to sneak back into their home where she used to live and see her son, because it was his birthday. And when the son sees her, he tells her, "Father told me you were dead." And she was like, "I'm not dead." She was happy right there for that particular scene, because she was with her son. And this is something that exists today: scorned love, broken relationships, marriages, all types of things can cause us to spiral down into a depression. And that's the same thing for Anna, which was one of the common threads that I tried to put on my bubbled Venn. Going through the entire movie, I see Anna, she's starting to become deeply depressed. She doesn't eat, she doesn't go out, she's just simply unhappy. And of course we know that now because she's not with her son, and that is something that is present today. I put on the bottom that a toxic environment can play a huge role in someone's down spiral to depression and inevitably their own suicide. So something that Anna was going through back in 1874 is something that we can apply today in 2022. And one of the lines that I found kind of eerie was the colonel is telling someone that that's not courage, that is suicide. And I kind of just got creeped out a little bit when the colonel said that. So Anna, like Many others didn't reach out for help, and like I said, back then they didn't have all the resources that we have now, and I'm even wondering if she would have even turned to those resources because she was already so upset and angry, and she felt like she was just a burden at, towards the end. So you're going to see on the next slide, that it could have helped. This was from the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. The Lifeline of 988. I didn't realize that they had come up with a new number to call, which is 3-digit number, which is amazing. And it may work in some areas, it may not, but I know that it's pretty much now available to everyone across the United States starting July 16th, 2022, which is actually a day after my birthday. But anywho, I just kind of wanted to share that because I'm wondering if Anna would have had this 988, if she would have sought help. And again, I know I keep saying she didn't have resources, and of course I'm assuming this, but I'm going to say that there weren't as many as there are today. But throughout the movie, she is constantly, her mood is changing. I mean, it gets back, and she's just becoming. And towards the end of the movie, her friends see her for the last time, and her friend Kitty says she's in a piteous state, and because it stems from her cheating, leaving her husband, leaving her son behind, and now Vronsky leaving her. So everything just hits her at once, and then she decides to go to the train station, and then that's when she remembers at the beginning of the movie she saw someone kill themselves by train. So when the camera zooms in, you can see the dark and coldness of despair in her eyes, and the determination for her to commit this act was there, and she does it. And she commits suicide by jumping onto the oncoming train. That's my presentation. Thank you for listening.